The Westford Heatlh Department, Emergency Management, in conjunction with the Cameron Senior Center, held an Emergency Preparedness Fair at the Cameron on October 21st. State and town agencies that provide disaster relief in the community were on hand to explain the town of Westford's plans to respond to crisis and to assist seniors on how they can better prepare in the case of an emergency. Westford Cat was there to meet with several of the agencies and vendors. Nancy Burns of the Upper Merrimack Valley Medical Reserve Corps and the Westford Fire Department's Dawn Parsons spoke about how the town is suggesting residents prepare.
Hi there, my name's Nancy Burns. I'm with the Medical Reserve Corps, and I'm one of the many vendors that are here at an Emergency Preparedness Fair at the Council on Aging. And I'm here with Dawn Parsons, who's with the Fire Department. We're here to talk about preparedness and its importance, especially to seniors. Our particular booth is the Medical Reserve Corps. Our volunteers do things like screen for blood pressures, prepare in case of disasters. When we've had emergency shelters in the past, say the power's been out for up to 2 weeks across the region, our volunteers have staffed the emergency shelters that have been set up especially by the Fire Department and Emergency Management. So one of the things that we're promoting today that's fairly new, Westford has a special needs emergency registry. We're working with the Senior Center and other community groups to identify people who might need special help in a disaster. It's a HIPAA-protected database. It's confidential. This is an initiative of the Health Department. So an RN is calling people in town, having gotten the names from important sources like the Council on Aging, Fire Department, Police, who might need a little extra help in a disaster. It'd help us know ahead of time, do you have diabetes? Are you on dialysis? Do you need oxygen? Are you wheelchair bound? Is someone in the home bedridden? Do they have people that look in on them? Do they have family nearby? Then when a disaster strikes, they'd know this is somebody we might want to provide special care and attention to. Plan in advance. If we know they can't walk, we might have special accommodations for that. Stretchers, stair chairs, that sort of thing. If they need their oxygen, to be able to transfer it over. Don certainly has worked with a lot of people. Would you like to say a couple words about what it is to care for someone who has those special needs?
I think it's just important that we have the registry so that in the event that people need assistance, that we know where to go and we know how to help them.
And it's different from 911.
It's different than 911. It's not a direct emergency, but we want to have that registry so that we know if we have people out there that we have to provide assistance to, we know who they are.
And we can gear up for them in a special way as well. I happen to be an EMT and I've been an on-call person with the Westford Fire Department, but the facility right now has paramedics and they've got full-time EMT firefighters, and they're constantly available to deal with a lot of these serious medical issues. But the important thing for preparedness is, some people think, well, something bad happens, I'll call 911. But in a major disaster affecting not just the town, but maybe the entire region, everybody's going to be calling 911. They may not be able to get to you right away. There may also be downed trees, there may be flooding, there may be obstacles preventing people from getting to you easily. That's why we promote things like a 72-hour kit, and we can cover that in a little bit. The Health Department is one of the venues that we're talking about here, and you can see the display behind me. You can see that this is a sample 72-hour kit. This happens to be available for $45 at cost through the Health Department. A check to the town of Westford. We make no money on it. We buy this at cost so we can provide it as a community service. We do have other versions of the kit as well. This one's adapted a little bit more closely for seniors. The important thing is it's a starter kit. It has things like an emergency radio, and it has basics like a toothbrush and toothpaste. It has other supplies, and you're supposed to be adding things like communication numbers. People contacts out of the state, you could call and say, yes, I'm okay, or oh, I do need help. It has other things in it like a first aid kit. You may want to put in your own, say, medications and customize the kit. Bottom line is we encourage everybody to have a 72-hour kit. If you don't buy one that's just pre-packed for you, which saves a lot of money because we bought things in bulk, by all means, make your own. Get a duffel bag and throw some basic essentials in it. At least start someplace. Have a starter kit. The Health Department and the Medical Reserve Corps have lists of items that you could use to build your own kit, and then ways you could customize it for your specific family. Did you have any other comments about preparedness and what people in Westford need to know?
Well, I think it's important that not to wait for an event to start being prepared. There are things that we can do to our home now making sure that you have carbon monoxide detectors, working carbon monoxide detectors, and they're up to date. The other thing is having working smoke alarms. But I think a part of about emergency preparedness is always think about what are you going to do in the event of an emergency. Do you have an emergency escape plan? Do you know how to get out in the event of an emergency? And I think that's what this fair is about, is that being prepared, and that starts now. It starts before an event actually happens. And I believe that there's a lot of good information here at that fair to help, people to get there and to be ready.
And I think one last point I'd want to make is we don't do these things in isolation. We never work in a vacuum. The Medical Reserve Corps is a volunteer group who is available to help people in disasters as well as ongoing times of need or assistance, screening blood pressures, checking cholesterol, because the fitter you are before a disaster happens, the better prepared you'll be to deal with it. But the MRC reports to the Health Department, and this is a Health Department initiative. It's done in tandem with emergency management, the Fire Department, the Council on Aging, Senior Center, the police, emergency management, and other existing entities. So it's important that we all work together. Please help us do that by being as prepared as you can be for your own family. Thanks.
MEMA's Michael Main talked about how the state provides disaster relief and how best to prepare for an emergency.
So my name is Mike Main. I'm here from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. We're the state agency charged with responding to and recovering from emergencies statewide. One of the big things we're here today to do is provide some preparedness information for residents of Westford. We have all kinds of pamphlets and information. One of the most important messages is really to make sure you have a preparedness kit at home. So if we do have an emergency where you lose power, you have to leave town, you have a quick way to be able to grab some water, medications, food, things that last you about 72 hours after a disaster. Be able to take it with you, make it portable. If you have pets at home, is be able to provide some food and water for your pets also. But just making sure you have a kit at home so that when we do have to do any of those sorts of things, you have a way to continue to survive on your own until the state is able to provide some support to you. Typically about 48 hours, 72 hours is what we recommend. At that point we can usually get some FEMA resources, some state resources, and start to recover from the types of disasters that we see in the state. The major ones being snowstorms. We've had some flooding issues, recently a lot of tornadoes, but those are just some examples of emergencies that you should be prepared for and building an emergency kit to be able to take care of yourself.
Susan Griffin and Joe Morocco from National Grid explain how residents can keep themselves safe and how important it is to report any power outages.
National Grid is the energy supplier to the town of Westford. We provide electrical service throughout the town in an overhead configuration, so the poles and the wires that run, and from there the service lines that go to your house. And then we also have a large underground electrical infrastructure. Many of the new developments here in Westford have underground power. So that's important to talk to folks about what do you do in the event of an emergency. And National Grid would be one of the first responders on scene in the middle of a storm to restore that power. And then we're also the natural gas supplier here for the town. So many folks in the community use National Grid and our natural gas products to heat their homes and for cooking. And again, in the event of a disaster, National Grid would be one of the first companies on scene. Many residents, many consumers don't realize that the only way that we know that the power is out is if you actually call us. And that may seem implausible in 2016, but that's the way the grid is set up. A lot of the electric grid has been in place for nearly 100 years. And we're looking at new technologies, new smart grid technologies that would allow us to know when the power goes out, and in some cases actually fail those customers over to an alternate line. Those are big projects, and we have a number of proposals in front of the state to allow us to bring that technology. But for today, you still need to call us.
Also an app you can get for Apple or Android. You can report an outage through the app. You can also check to see how many people are out in your community through the app and the estimated time for restoration. So if you have a smartphone, tablet, check out our app. Just search for National Grid US at the Apple or Android store, and you can find our app and you can use it to stay up to date on information during a storm. During a storm, and I'm sure you've seen it, there's a lot of wires on the ground. Westford is an area where there's a large amount of trees. So limbs come down and they take wires down, and what happens is that the storm will end. People will leave their homes and they'll start walking around thinking the storm's over, but there can be live electrical wires down on the ground. I've seen people walk up to them and try to take pictures to put on their Facebook or their Instagram or to tweet it out, and they're getting within feet of a potential live wire. So for us, it's important that if you ever see something like that, you stay away from it and you call us as quickly as you can to let us know so we can get the appropriate people there to respond and make sure that you and your community, your children, your parents, your friends are safe. And that's the most important thing for us.
And then Mark Monroe from the HMCC demonstrated how to properly use a fire extinguisher.
So what we have here is a simulator that helps people, we teach people how to use fire extinguishers, how to use the extinguisher, how to put out the flame spread, and this is something we've been teaching today, people how to use a fire extinguisher. So the way that we teach people, I'm a retired firefighter, the way that we teach people is the pass. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And so what you want to do is you want to pull the pin, you want to aim at the base of the fire, never right into the fire, but at the base of the fire. Squeeze, and then you want to sweep back and forth. And that's how you put a fire out.
If you'd like more information on how to better prepare for an emergency, or would like to purchase an emergency preparedness kit from the Health Department, you can call the Westford Board of Health at 978-692-5509, or stop by the office on the second floor of the Town Hall, 55 Main Street in Westford. There is also an emergency MRC link on the town website under the Health Department page. Go to westfordma.gov. For Westford Cat, I'm Patty Stalker.